All right, guys, we're back. Once again, apologize. Thanks for sticking with us here. Just going through some crashing on the app, unfortunately. So we're trying something new here, and hopefully this will stick around this time. Thanks for being patient. All right, Andy, I think before it crashed the last time, you were just getting started on giving brief who you are and what you do. So let's pick up there.
Yeah, sure. So I am Andy Richie. I'm the Game Maker Community Manager for the Sandbox, along with responsible for the Game Jam competitions that we hold as well. I entered the Sandbox and Metaverse around 2 years ago as a contestant in one of the competitions. So alongside doing the Sandbox work, I've been setting up my own studio company within the Metaverse, which is a development company creating and building games, which is Boop Goop. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you, Andy. Victor or Tox, you want to jump in next and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So my name is Toxam. I'm the CEO and founder of Polygonal Mind. Polygonal Mind is a creative studio that imagines, designs, and develops environments, avatars, games, and other kind of experiences around the metaverse. We started as a video game company doing outsourcing, and then a few years back we discovered Decentralized, and then one thing led to another, and here we are building in every single platform that we can get our hands on, and creating cool stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Tox. Victor, you want to give a little round us out here?
Yeah. Hi. I work at Polygonal Mind, and I'm the logic and narrative designer for the Sandbox experiences, and I'm currently working on the ones we're going to publish with Stakefish. Yes.
Awesome. Well, cool. Thanks everyone for being here once again. Before we get started into some of the discussions, just to let you know, we are giving away at Stakefish 20 NFTs for the Sandbox. So everyone who is on this Spaces will be have a chance at winning one of those 20 NFTs, and then we'll have a Q&A here at the end. And if you submit questions, you'll get an extra entry into receiving one of those NFTs to use in the Sandbox. Cool. So first question, just to kick us off here. The Metaverse is exploited, but what is the Metaverse really, and what is its key components? If anyone wants to jump in right away and take that question.
Happy to answer it, I think, of course. I think the Metaverse isn't just one thing. It's the combination of having multiple platforms that are either cross-compatible or they have a common ground which makes them sorry, I can't say the words today. Which basically they have a common ground which allows you to swap or move between either a different platform, a different game, a different environment, whatever. But the Metaverse is also bringing like this whole new world into a digital form as well. Like we're creating so many new jobs that people didn't even think of, which will now exist in the Metaverse, because art galleries are opening, music studios are opening within the Metaverse, and all of them across these different platforms, which common ground is the blockchain. It's a brief description from my point of view anyway.
Yeah, so Grecia here. I have to log in from Stakefish account. But yeah, hey everyone. So I agree with Andy that the Metaverse is more like, it's not like a single thing, but it's more like a digital universe that is composed of different digital environments. And I would say that it allows humans to have real-time interactions similar to real-world interactions. And I would say that one of the main components of the metaverse is the use of an avatar that the user is using to represent him or her as as an individual, and it represents our digital identity.
Yeah, I would like to add. I obviously agree, and I think what you all said is, of course, what brings the metaverse to life. And I would go even further and say it's a matter of self-expression, about creating and sharing with others, and liberating yourself to express who you truly are through a different form of art, such as movies uh, or just a frame. Well, in the metaverse,
very similar to what Epic or Blizzard has, and then you also have items that are stored on the IPFS, which is a decentralized network, or directly in the blockchain, like some of the artworks we see in the art blocks, for example. So I would say that the ownership and the capacity that have scarce things, or not even scarce things, but just the proof that you own it, and then you can check it, and nobody else can change or say anything about it.
Yeah, thanks. That's super interesting. So basically, this proof of ownership wasn't possible before the blockchain, right? On digital assets.
I mean, you could trade assets, for example, in World of Warcraft, you could earn assets and then trade them on the auction house, which is kind of the similar concept as OpenSea, but with NFTs, right? So you can sell the items, but you cannot take those items outside World of Warcraft environment, right? And if you leave the game, or I mean you are hacked, or let's say you are banned, you're losing all those items, and there's no way that they can, obviously they will compensate you, but they can also punish you in ways that removing items from your pocket or something like that. So it was possible, but now you have the real ownership of it, right? You don't have intermediaries that can play with your assets at your will.
Yeah, and I guess something I would add here that it's interesting, it's that now that you have the proof of ownership, also this market and economy is borderless. So you have access to more people worldwide, right? So someone else wants to add anything to Toxam answer? Andy or Victor?
Yeah, happy to. I think it adds another layer to things, that it gives more value to the community and more ways to interact with the community. Like the blockchain being involved in video games as well is another form of investment. Looking at the Sandbox and the way that they use land, purchasing a piece of land is an NFT, and that's on the blockchain, and that proof of ownership is then used to access different rewards, different parts of the server in Discord, or even like the staking rewards as well. It can have a financial impact and benefit because there is that proof of ownership. But there's also that limited scarcity as well, that when a company does come out and say this is limited edition and this is the quantity, once that is minted on the blockchain, that's been defined and it's there and it's set in stone. So I think it holds people to the word, and it really means that limited edition items and proof of ownership is there, verified and public for everyone to view.
Okay, amazing. Guys, in case the audience here didn't listen, we're gonna give away 20 stakefish NFT wearables at the end of these Twitter Spaces. So just stay tuned, and good luck to everyone for that. So let's jump into the next question. How do you guys think that NFTs fit into the metaverse? Why are they key component of the metaverse?
I think again it goes to proof of ownership, you know, coming back to the Sandbox land and offering benefits to the community, buying into NFTs, whether they be land or whether they be assets for in-game, they are putting money into the creator's pocket, which is like an investment into that. You're purchasing it and you own it. And I've seen in certain metaverses where people have created artwork and they've sold artwork that's gone into the metaverse and it'll be displayed in there. And having like the interoperability from just being able to display any artwork in certain metaverses as well opens up new windows. But I think the gating is going to be a big part of it. People owning NFTs to be able to get access to certain environments which otherwise are gated off. Special events, you know, parties, tickets can be sold to them with limited quantities, and proof of ownership falls into the gating aspect of they can only get in if they've got that NFT.
That's super interesting. So now that we're talking about NFTs, I would like to know more about interoperability across metaverses. So we often hear what actually Andy and Toxam were talking about. So you have proof of ownership, you own this digital asset. This digital asset is supposed to have interoperability across metaverses, but today there's not really interoperability across metaverses. So who can tell us more about this? Like, is this something that you see happening soon? What's the challenge behind it? How do you visualize the interoperability across metaverses, and how it will look like when you have your avatar and your NFTs and you want to use it in different platforms?
Well, well, I think that it's going to take time because this concept, even if it looks like it's been here forever, it hasn't. You know, most of the people just wanted their lands on Decentralized and use them for that, and then the idea of crossing metaverses came in, but really until I will say the last 9 months, nobody was paying that much attention into interoperability because most of the platforms are still not released yet. They are in a very infant stage, and they still need to figure out how they are going to be working in themselves and how, or if they are already very experienced, let's say Epic, they are having an enclosed environment, so they are not going to be the first movers into that sense. So it's going to take time because you have to set up standards, interoperable, standards that everybody can use, create APIs, create all this kind of software and backends so that people can use it, plug and play, and it's going to take time. I mean, I don't think that we will be seeing like super interoperable NFTs until 2 years from now, probably, or maybe 3.
I agree. I think there's certain aspects to look at though, is the transition from one to another. As in, if you did own something on the blockchain, you could sell it on the blockchain and use a currency then to purchase something else to move into something, a different area, a different section. So from that point of view, the transition is there. But like you said, I think that it's going to take a long time before it does exist. There's small steps into getting there at the moment, but everything requires, in that aspect, everything is required to be on the same file, the same, everything uses the same code, and it all has to come back to a common ground of everything has to function. Different metaverses use different, let's say Sandbox uses voxels as an example, that straight away there's a restriction from certain games can't just take their avatar and put it in, but there's steps in place at the moment to start making that happen, of bridges across. If you do own an NFT, it's verified in your wallet and that unlocks the avatar for certain things. So I think that's like the world of women at the moment with the Sandbox. They have a project which is a piece of art, and then that transition has come over to the Sandbox and they have an avatar in there now. when you log into the Sandbox, you verify that you own that NFT, and then you can use that as an avatar within that. So it does require communication from both platforms across, but I think we're in the early stages, but we're seeing it already slowly.
Yeah, it's definitely coming sooner than later. I think everyone is pushing towards that direction.
Yeah, actually, regarding your comment, Victor, I think that we can see that not really every metaverse project is pushing towards the same direction. And we can see it, as the most popular example we have of other platform metaverses such as Meta, versus how is Sandbox approaching all the digital identity, right? So we see that these structures are very different, and I would like to speak of this topic now. So, what's the importance of building decentralized metaverses? What is it, and what are the key components of decentralized metaverses, and how does it differs from a centralized metaverse?
I think we've seen that in recent cases with Minecraft is a perfect example. There was a lot of people that had servers that were private servers on Minecraft, which they thought they had complete control and access over, but it turns out that they don't. And there's a lot of restrictions in place that they can just be turned off by Mahjong if they want. So I think having the decentralized aspect is the ownership. The community have control and they have ownership of what goes on, which then comes back to the proof of ownership and DAOs, people using DAOs to vote on the future of companies. And that's a big part of what the metaverse is bringing, I think, is the voice to the people that are involved financially within that company.
Yeah, I think that for sure, since most of our most of the important things in our lives are becoming more and more digital, like our jobs, our ways to interact with our friends and family, our identity. So, like in that perspective, I do believe that the metaverse should be decentralized, so that you own all this information and you don't have to rely on intermediaries. um, what are your thoughts on this, Victor? What do you think? Do you think it should be decentralized, or do you think that how the future will look like?
Yeah, I totally forgot that Meta is a centralized metaverse when I was answering the question before this one. But I do think, this is just my personal opinion here, that decentralization should be, well, it looks like the way to me, giving people the power to, through DAOs, as Andy said, vote for how they want things to progress. I think that would be the best option. Of course, there has to be some kind of entity that regulates what is done or what it isn't. But if that's the people, I think that's for the best interests of us.
Totally agree with you. So I see Imoni has requested the mic. I guess you have a question. I will open the mic for you. If anyone else from the audience has a question, just feel free to request the mic. So hey, Imoni, you're a speaker now.
Oh, hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me on. I'd just like to ask the panel what they think about Meta's or Instagram's latest announcement with regards to the inclusion of NFTs on their platform, which includes mobile AR, which will, bring NFTs into augmented reality, and if that's a good thing for the industry, or do people, or the opposite?
I think it's actually quite good. I think it's self-expression as it comes back to, people purchase NFTs most of the time, whether they're involved in the community, in the company, or whether they like the artwork, and being able to display that through a social media platform is a way to have that self-expression still. So I think it's a good aspect. I see a lot of movement of AI going on in the background, and I think AI is going to have a big place in bringing everything together, mapping out the world that we have at the moment and being able to have digital overlays over it. Because at the moment, virtual reality is still very confined to the area that you're in and the safe zone, let's say. So with coming back to the self-expression of it and Instagram, I think it's great, really. I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I'm kind of in mixed kind of opinions on it. A lot of people are Meta's biggest fan, obviously, through the previous kind of performance with data, but they've come a long way. I know they intended to launch their global stablecoin, Libra, which I think changed to DM, which was not backed by central banks and governments, even though they kind of pretty much gifted the technology which they've been developing to, they made it open source and made it like freely available. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm certainly a big fan of the AR space, and I think that's going to be the next big wave, certainly for the metaverse. I think. I mean, I kind of believe we're already in the metaverse with the technology that we've got. I just think that the window to the metaverse is going to change from, iPhones to smart glasses. And I think, there's a lot of big players in the space right now. Apple, Microsoft, Meta, a few other big players. They're very close to launching some mainstream AR glasses, which I think is going to kind of really take over what's been happening in the space. I think a lot of corporate investment has gone into like virtual reality, and I don't think this is a kind of a true reflection of what the metaverse is. I think we're going to see wide scale adoption of augmented reality first, and that will converge with the blockchain and NFTs, and I think it's going to be really exciting. I can't wait to see, which smart glasses are going to come out. And the thing is, it's kind of the same thing. There's lots of big players. We're going to be restricted to probably four of the main players. Like I said, Meta, Apple, Microsoft, and there's one other. It escapes me right now, but it would be nice to see kind of a platform. A universal platform which is kind of blockchain agnostic, which isn't controlled by one of the big four kind of hardware suppliers. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see what other people's thoughts are.
Yeah, that's super interesting, Imoni. Thanks for your contributions. If you have any other questions or anyone here in the audience, don't hesitate to request the mic, and I will make you speaker so that you can contribute also to this conversation. So just to continue with our some of the questions that we received on private message. This is directed to Andy, and Soy Garduno asked, how do you see that people, brands, communities, and individuals are actually taking advantage of the sandbox? What are they building on the sandbox? What's like the advantages they're taking on the sandbox?
A big thing to take into consideration at the moment is the sandbox is alpha. you know, we are very, very early stages of this. And even if some currencies and assets really did well last year, that doesn't mean that we're late. We're still in the very, very beginning of what's going on. So I don't think you're seeing a lot at the moment from an outside user's point of view. But there is a lot going on inside behind closed doors, especially building up to season 3. The Sandbox is working with a lot of their partners to bring either information, their brand, digital assets, and then in some cases is like physical assets that have been going along with NFTs, and I'm sure we'll probably see that in the future here as well. But a big part of the big brands being involved in the metaverse is that the Sandbox can't do everything. You know, the Sandbox can't be the one to build and create all of the metaverse. So a lot of it relies on the people that are out there at the moment, and early investors in the Sandbox that were like me, there's Cody, Lowe's, and just some people from the community. They found this because of their interest in gaming and creating their own area within the metaverse. So those are the people I think that the brands are going to look towards for inspiration or for creation, and work with those to bring their brand into the metaverse. If that makes sense at all.
Yeah, for sure, that makes sense. We have another request from Sahil. I will go to you, Sahil, in 1 minute. Just we received first another question also for Andy and Victor, since both of you have experience building in different metaverses. Well, at least Victor, I'm sure he's got some experience in Decentralized and other metaverses. So what would be the differentiator, the main qualities that the Sandbox has over other platforms?
See, I don't know how much I can say because of the future of the Sandbox. I don't know what's hush and what's not hush, let's say. But there's a reason that there's a lot going on in the Sandbox, and there's a lot of brands working with the Sandbox, and that's because of the future of the roadmap's got it all laid out basically, and people are able to come into the Sandbox and easily create their own area, their own space, and that's all it comes down to, is the freedom of either their self-expression or their brand. There's going to be a lot of people, let's say, interacting with the Sandbox, and we've already seen that from season 1 and season 2. But throughout the whole journey that I've been on in the Sandbox, it really comes down to the people that are building at the end of it, the people that are there, working at home on their own behind the PC, just interested in gaming and fancy building, and they from there have built studios that now exist within the Sandbox.
Yeah, I think the factor that mostly differentiates the Sandbox is how easy it is to get inside and build something for yourself. They even have these assets that are free for everyone to use, and anyone can get in there, drop some blocks, make some quests, make an experience, and have fun or play something else. And I think that's the main advantage they have against other metaverses, how easy it is to get in it. I would say I have the freedom to guess on this one, because I don't work for the Sandbox, but I'm guessing they are aiming for a more gamey experience. I think for what I can see from outside, they are aiming for gaming experiences, more in the sense of having little gameplay sessions and different lands in which you can spend from 30 to 50 minutes and have a fulfilling experience and something fun that you can think of later. At least that's what I can see from outside.
No, I agree. A big part of it is gaming, and the tools that the Sandbox offer are so easy to use and so simple to create something very quickly with if you're not familiar with them. The fact that there's no coding in the back end as well makes it really, really easy.
Yeah, no coding is really the key, because I think that's what most people is afraid of. So I think they hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, I totally agree that entry barriers should be lowered down so that more creativity it's happens, right? So yeah. Okay, so Sahil, I will invite you as speaker so you can ask your question to Andy or Victor. There you go.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for this opportunity. And there's this thought that I had. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the same thing. So, as I played the Sandbox season one, so what we observe is that there are so many partnership with huge brands like Adidas or Ledger, and so many more coming up. So is there a concern that in the future we are going to see we go into a metaverse and there are so many just labels all around now? I do believe and I agree that these partnerships are necessary for adoption, and they help us get that visibility. But on a longer run, is there a concern that there'll be a lot of branding everywhere, or how do we build that what do you say like a proper mixture of non-branded experiences and branded experiences at the same time?
I think that's a super interesting question, Sahil. Andy or Victor, do you have any comments for him?
Yeah, I can speak. I don't think I'm not really too concerned about the aspects. I think the Sandbox has to have brands in there. It has to have that familiarity that people can connect with. But there's another side of that you don't see, and that's the self-expression through those brands. Bringing brands to the Sandbox, like let's say The Walking Dead or Snoop Dogg as an example, or even the Smurfs. Bringing those brands to the Sandbox allows the use of their copyrighted material or their intellectual property within the Sandbox, and being able to sell and create assets and the voxel models, and then the normal user, like as I purchased a piece of land in the Smurf sale way back, and they gave us a little Smurf as like a reward for it. That means I can put that asset in my game, and I can create an experience which involves the Smurfs. Now, I don't think that's something that you can do with any other brand. You're going to see studios purchasing assets from Atari, from Snoop Dogg, from The Walking Dead, so that they can build experiences around them and have their brand inside their piece of land, that if they want to charge access to play that experience in the future, then they can benefit from that, and they don't need to pay royalties to that company, because they purchased that asset for use and they own it. So there's good sides and there's bad sides to it, but I think that a lot of the land is owned by the community as a percentage, and the interests in building a project which is external from the Sandbox and bringing it in there isn't going to fill up the whole map. There's so many experiences that have been created from internally or birthed like through the Sandbox community, that there's going to be such a huge variety. We're going to see brands born from the metaverse, let's say.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I would like also to answer to Sahil from the stakefish perspective, because as you know, stakefish is proof of stake validator in the crypto world. And last year, our team decided to build a presence in the metaverse. And the main reason that we did this was to engage with our community. So it's more like about community perspective than from client or audience perspective. So we wanted to meet people where they are, and we believe that, of course, the metaverse will be the place where everyone is going to be in a couple of years. So I think that a lot of brands, of course, have acquired or purchased land in different metaverses. But I would say that the important thing is how are they adding value to their communities, and such as Andy mentioned it, how can they make the user part of the community. And there's also this principle of play to earn. So how can we earn together? So from the stakefish perspective, I also wanted to talk about this previously, so I guess I will just take this space to do it. So we have been building the Stakefish world, that it's basically 7 chapters connected by the same play game and one story. And one of our main focus is to also build a fun experience for our community, but at the same time educate them um, in decentralization and blockchain topics and sustainability as well. So as Andy mentioned earlier, we are in a very early stage of what can you do with Sandbox, but our main objective is to add value to our communities. And also, other things that I've seen as a user and as marketing perspective is that the good thing about the user generated content that the Sandbox allows is that the end user end up building a mix of different brands and builds actually what they like the most. So it's super interesting and vibrant, like to see the result of these collaborations and partnerships with different brands that weren't really chased by the brand per se, but they were chased by the end user. So I hope that answered your questions.
No, not at all. So I do agree with that. Yeah, thanks.
Cool, perfect. So we're about to finish the tour spaces, guys. If you have any other question, now is the time to request the mic. I will give you guys 1 minute to do it. Okay, while the minute goes by, I just want to invite you guys to test and try and play or Stakefish experiences on the Sandbox game. It's very easy to play it. You just have to download the latest game maker version of the Sandbox game, create your account, and search for Stakefish experiences in the featured menu. So it's very easy to find us. You can see our NFT galleries. We have quests that will be rewarded with NFT wearables when you finish them. We're also about to launch a new experience next week. And I also want to invite you guys. Where Andy Richie here is going to do streaming of the underwater experience that we're about to launch next week. So stay tuned in our social media and don't miss also that streaming. With regards to the Tiger Collection NFT giveaway that we're doing now, I already took the snapshot of the participants of the tour spaces. And so this afternoon, we will announce who are the winners. We're giving away 25 NFT wearables. So just pay attention to your notifications, and hopefully you will win something. So two more questions. I will give the mic to No Rabbits. Hey, No Rabbits, do you want to ask some question?
Yes, hi, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I had
Go ahead,
asked a
yeah.
question per DM. I'm not sure if it was asked. I got rugged for a short while, but I'll I'll change the question now anyway, based on how the conversation went in this space. I had originally asked if they thought gamification was maybe what the worldwide reform that conventional classroom learning was waiting for, and it seems to say everybody was talking about Sandbox and game playing and Web3 anyway. My question is then, I'll modify it to say, do you think the competition like we have in classroom within games is going to be as important in Web3? I don't know. I went to the US, and then your ranking, your GPA is always very important. And so if you're going to bring education, even education as stakefish likes to do, into Web3, how do you think that competition aspect can be translated in such a way that it's not just that going to be video gamers who are really quick with their thumbs who are going to end up winning the prizes, maybe have more skill or intellectually based. So basically, how do you think competition would work out in the gamification that we're seeing in Web3 is my question.
I think we've already seen aspects of it. I've definitely already personally done aspects that have taken competitions away from gaming, and fair enough, people have had to run around and explore an experience within the sandbox. But on top of that, that experience just leads to the first step, that they then have to use knowledge and experience from real life world to either go on the internet and find out clues and codes and either solve codes which then lead to a wallet seed phrase with prizes. So I think it's down to the creator of how they want to create that competition. I think at the start we're going to see a lot of competitions about how quick your fingers are and how fast you can either shoot someone else or run through a parkour environment. But I think later down the line, I think we're going to get more creative and start actually using the blockchain to our advantage and leaving little treasure trails all along as we go that people have to explore other options. It's more down to the user, I think. I definitely want to create environments where it isn't about how good of a gamer you are. Some competitions for that, but other things I want it to be your past experience and your knowledge outside of the world to be able to solve clues to then win a prize.
Thanks a lot. One of the follow-up is a lot of the things I've noticed, especially in this, since we're all based a bit on crypto and the money-making aspects, is there's a lot of insistence on first come, first served, and the chance factor of this, or gambling, I guess you would call it. Do you think that's a good trend? Do you think that'll be maybe eliminated over time? Because first come, first serve is perhaps not the best way to learn, or the best incentive when you're trying to make people learn.
I don't know what I'm sorry, I don't understand what the restrictions are and what you're asking. Is it about the fact that the people that know about the environment now and get involved now will be ahead of everyone else in a year?
A little bit like that, because I think gamification is where we're going. And then when you're talking about games, there's, as you explained, there are certain aspects, and some of the aspects are just the fastest or the first to show up, or the tendencies I've been to try to democratize that so that everybody gets a chance, it basically is usually reduced to like a lottery. So if you want to be more fair to more people, then you just increase the chance aspect of it, which kind of turns everything into a lottery and not really fair in the end. So that's what I meant. Games which is Web3 going to invent different types of gamification than what we've already seen?
I think a huge part of gamification isn't about the competition; it's about the time. If you change the way you look at it and look back at the people that are doing well are the people that have invested their time into this, and gamification is just one way for you to earn a reward. And if you are entering a competition like that, then it is just the lottery basis or experience based, who's the better gamer. But I think a big part of it is that if you are investing in places like this, then the fact that you own a piece of land, or the fact that, sorry, if you create an experience on that piece of land, that's a way for you to generate revenue, and that is a way of benefiting from the gamification of things without needing to be the best gamer. Also, the other aspect is like land is used as a way to increase the rewards that are offered through staking liquidity in the sandbox. So a big part of the benefits that are out there at the moment aren't just based on what you do inside the sandbox, but it's based about your investments as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that's actually one of the things that I love about the Sandbox rather than any other project is there's so many ways to be earning, and there seems to be so many coming down the line. So I definitely agree with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your question, Rabbits. Hello, Napoleon. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So I have a question. Why did you choose exactly Sandbox Metaverse? I mean, there is, for example, Decentralized Metaverse or something like that. Why exactly Sandbox?
Well, that's an interesting question. When the stakefish team decided to step into the metaverse, we saw a lot of opportunity for the low barriers of entry for building content and generating content in the sandbox. We also thought that their approach to decentralization was very similar to our values as a company. However, we don't really are like close to the possibility of stepping into other metaverses. So we first started with the sandbox, but we will probably be looking at expanding and having presence and building presence in other metaverses, such as Decentralized, as you mentioned. But yeah, I guess we just decided to start with Sandbox.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Now, last question is for Big Bull. I'm adding you as a speaker now. Hi, Big Bull. You're a speaker now.
Hi. So I didn't hear the whole conversation. I just saw it's decentralized metaverse. So, you know, personally, I have space in Sandbox, and the other side and voxels and not DCL. Just I'm interested, one topic is gamification versus gaming, or, if you look at like location, or you look at metaverses versus, let's say, NFT projects like 10KTF, right, which are doing gamification versus in world, right? I mean, I'm not sure, what are you guys doing with your space? Because I mean, from my understanding, Stakefish is doing proof of stake, right? You're doing a validator service, right? So, what are you hoping to use your metaverse for? Or the space
Thanks,
you're
Big Bull.
buying?
Yeah, sure. That's actually one question I also asked myself when I joined the Stakefish last year. And I guess is the possibilities, as Andy mentioned before, are endless, and we're in a very, very early stage, and we don't really know until what point we can, bring the whole experience to, because it's, Sandbox is just starting, and there are no many features available yet. So for the moment, we are our main motivation is to connect with our audience and engage with our audience in the metaverse, and also to deploy education around decentralization. So basically, as you mentioned, we are proof of stake validators, and proof of stake, non-custodial staking is like a concept that it's not very easy for newcomers, or it's a concept that is for like more sophisticated users. So we thought that a great idea to inform and to interact with our audience in an easiest way would be through this experience, right? So for the moment we are doing this. It's fun experience with educational content and awareness around decentralization. And we have also launched our first NFT collection. So this is very helpful for us in terms of also brand awareness, because then the idea is that our users go from one metaverse to another, or maybe one experience to another, wearing the stakefish helmet. And then this will bring us like more brand awareness for staking, right? So basically this is the two objectives of our community right now. And yeah, it's just interacting with our community.
And how big is the space that you've or the plots that you have in Sandbox? You have one parcel or one plot, or you have many?
I think that Victor is the best one to talk about how big our steakfish experiences are. Also, he's developing them, so it's quite a challenge because it's quite big as far as I understand.
Yeah, I wasn't answering straightforward just because I didn't know if I was allowed to say it. But I take this as a cue to say how big it is. Currently, we've done 3 1x1s, if you understand that term.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and we are working on 3 experiences that are going to be 2x1s. So there's a 3x3 plot. That's what we're working with.
Okay, nice. And you're just going to gradually grow the plot. Personally, I'm interested because I'm part of a project. I have my own spaces in Sandbox, but I also have because I'm on a council, and we have 36 plots together. So we're kind of thinking of what to do with them. So we're kind of and gamification around them, and how to expand them part by part to, increase engagement from users. Because if you look at other ones that actually work today, like DCL and voxels, right? Um,
Yeah.
One of the challenges is how to develop enough um, chicken and egg situation, right? Quality build or quality, you need the quality builds, but then you also need the quality events in the builds, and if you don't have the multiple things, right, then people don't go and use it, right? And so it's interesting to see how that can work, and to see how companies will use it, because some companies, as you said, it's like a kind of marketing exercise, and then some are becoming more, quite active in what they do with, quite kind of creative. So I was interested to hear what you guys doing, and why did you think Sandbox? Because Sandbox is quite. I've built in the testing game, and it has, game function, right? But for a corporate company, you know, it's not maybe 100% needed, right? So why did you think that versus, like, let's say the two that exist, or the two main ones that exist today, right? So voxels and TCL.
Yeah, well, I do not know about all the marketing stuff because that's out of my league. I have no idea. Maybe Gracia can talk about that, or perhaps Sandy as well. But if you have any doubts regarding how and what to build in your plot, uh, please feel free to contact Polygonal Mind, because we excel at what we do, and I'm sure we can lend you a hand on what you're doing. One of the things we're, for instance, one of the things we're working on with with the stakefish is having one of the lands come back and forth between being published and being unpublished at the sandbox, because we want it to evolve within time. Since we're going to host different events depending on the time of the year and whatever event the brand is planning, we want the land to evolve step by step as events go further. So that's perhaps something that you can look into.
So you're saying the land will be evolving. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the strengths of the metaverse, that it grows with the community and the community grows with it.
Well, thanks everyone for participating on these Twitter spaces. Sorry again for the technical difficulties we had. And thanks Andy and Victor, and also Toxam that had to jump to another call, for joining us. We are very happy to have you here, and don't hesitate to try our Stakefish experience on the Sandbox game. I will just repeat the steps here. First, you have to download the Game Maker version of the Sandbox. You have to create your account, and then you go to the menu of feature experiences, and there you will see Stakefish Volcanic Valley. That is our most recent experience. And stay tuned in our social media, because next week we will be launching one of our biggest experiences. It has crazy gameplay. It's super fun. We have a lot of metaphors, unique design, crazy NPCs, and storytelling. So yeah, we let's see you there. And thanks everyone for joining Spaces today.